guys? It's Corrupted
and Jurgle
with Ramen for the Soul. And we're back with the podcast. Sorry about missing last week. I was sick because I did the Hot Ones challenge with some friends and I ate way too much of the last one. And I was horribly sick for the entire morning. So I apologize. I'm not doing that again. So we're just gonna do a double episode, so it's like we never missed it. So we got the end of Venice Lobby / Water 7 and the start of Thriller Bark. Which is really nice about Thriller Bark is it's only it's like 40 episodes long after you account for all the filler at the start of it. So it fits up really well with the amount of episodes that we're doing.
The end of Water 7 definitely fit well. It dropping on 25.
Yeah.
That was really, really satisfying.
Yeah, well, so we get Luffy fighting Lucci fight conclusion, and it's really just a test of will, you know? The entire feat it's just Luffy showing that he's stronger. I totally forgot to do something. Hold up. I forgot to fix the internet.
Oh yeah, the wired.
Just talk about stuff.
Nah. We get to the point now, starting right when Luffy and Lucci get to starting basically their tug of war. Is almost like their force of will tug of war, if you will. Because mostly it's Lucci still being represented by the world government as the monster, and Luffy trying to overcome that monster in of itself. Because we see the first time he goes against him, he uses Gear Second, which is his new start of his new crutch. I wouldn't say crutch. Start of his new way to fight. His new way of really getting into the fight. Uses Gear Second the first time, basically showing his definition of speed. But you ever thought it was crazy that they fighting on a bridge of hesitation?
With no hesitation?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I think that had a lot to do with Usopp and his moment and all this, but we'll get there.
Another thing that kind of makes no sense in their fight is how does finger pistol sting work?
Hey, I don't know.
It just always made me be like, what? Is he just shooting air? So is it just Tempest kick with your finger? What? Is he shooting part of his fingernail? Because if he's shooting a bit of his fingernail, since he can constantly regrow his fingernail, going in and out of leopard mode, that makes sense. That actually make a lot of sense. But we found out that Spondum's dead. Sponda / Spondum. His dad, Spandim, is his father. Spandim, Sponda. It's
Spondime.
Spondime. That's it. I just misspelled it on the piece of paper. He's the one that was the leader of CP9 when they destroyed O'Hara and Robin escaped.
He's the one who invoked the call.
Yeah, he's the one they called he's the weird looking dude, and we find out much later that he's actually a super corrupt member. He's basically a real world politician. So yeah, that stuff's crazy. We learned Gear 2 works by blood doping, which is kind of funny to me. So basically Gear 2 works that he uses his legs as a secondary heart to make blood pump faster so that he has more oxygen to everywhere, and that's what makes him faster. So Luffy's technically a gearhead. Also, it's called second gear, so the joke works even better. So, yeah, he basically gives himself EPO. Spandam, Spanda, whichever one you want to call him. Like if you're doing the Japanese or the Viz or the what's the other company that makes it besides Viz? Toei. Yeah, okay. Version. He calls the Buster Call, and Robin has a fucking panic attack. Like, that's the only way to describe it, wouldn't you say? Like, she does everything short of have a seizure. Like, she just like falls to the ground.
Buster calls a psychological trigger for her.
And then it cuts back to the Luffy and Lucci fight. And Lucci's just like, you really think you can beat me? Luffy says, I can't protect anyone unless I do. Which was kind of cold. And then Luffy shows off Gear 3rd. He says, my left arm is now the arm of a giant. And then uses Gear 3rd to knock Lucci out the wall a good 500 meters onto the deck of not a pirate ship, but a marine ship, and he hits it with such force that it like tears through the top side boards, like it breaks through the side of it, and he like rips through the boards,
the top of the mast and stuff.
Yeah, like he like jacks up used, but also the left line of a giant arm ties into the like idea I was telling you, how like the pirates could be like Buccaneers, or the pirates could be like
we don't need to talk about
Jotnar.
Buccaneers right now.
I get that.
We don't need to talk about Buccaneers right now.
No, I'm just saying, like him saying because Jotuns weren't really giants. They're just gods of chaos or beings of chaos. And pirates are beings of chaos. And it was just a parallel that I noticed when I was watching it. But he uses 3rd gear bone balloon, which is where he fills his bones with air.
Bone balloon.
There's a funny moment where Chopper's just like, have you noticed that it's weird that Luffy always knows who to fight? Like, his instincts are great. It's almost like he can smell who he has to fight. And Nami says he's got instincts like an animal, even better than yours. And I wonder if that's an allusion to the fact that Luffy's fruit is a mythical Zoan. Because, you know what I mean? Because, like, his animal instincts are better than the actual animal's instincts.
Just because all the Zoans that far are based off animals.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? I wonder if that's like the first time Oda alluded to it, because like when you watch it going back, it makes sense that that's something in the class is Zoan, because a Paramecia probably won't do that. It probably can. Like, there's probably a Paramecia that can do that.
Yeah, but
we know that's not Luffy's.
It's a possibility, but don't think that it's not the first time any person has been given animal instincts in a story.
But the only reason I bring it up is because it's not that he has animal instincts, it's that his animal instincts are better than the actual animals. That's the only reason I think it's worth bringing up.
I mean, but
I'm just saying, if it was an allusion to the plan to make the Gum fruit a Zoan fruit, you gotta admit that's a pretty good
foreshadow.
It's a great foreshadow, if that's what it is.
I'm saying it's not the first time that someone's given animal instincts to a guy, and the instincts that Nami's talking about, it's obviously Chopper doesn't have those same instincts, like those same instincts that Nami's alluding that Luffy has.
I get that, but I'm just saying, like, it's the first time that we've had someone say that their instincts are better than an animal, like their animal instincts are better than an animal. Luffy sees Usopp for the first time because remember he thinks Usopp isn't there because Usopp was wearing the Sniper King mask, and he was convinced Sniper King and Usopp are different people. And spoiler alert, he never, or at least in this arc, he doesn't find out that Sniper King and Usopp are the same person. Because when he wakes up later, he's just like, what happened to Sniper King? And that kind of cracked me up. It's like, where'd Sniper King go? Usopp gives Luffy a big rousing speech of not to give up. He's like, you've always told me not to give up, so you're not allowed to give up because you wouldn't let me give up when I wanted to give up, so stand up. And then it's a good character moment for Usopp. Like, you see Usopp's finally, like, getting it. Like, he's finally understanding what he needs to do to accomplish his dream. Like, for the first time. Because, like, every other time he would have been in a similar situation. Yeah, he wouldn't know. Because he's standing in the line of fire for the first time in his life, probably.
Yep. And then you think about it, it goes to not only him, you know, developing as a character too, but we think about the metaphor and, like, you know, basically everything Usopp went through in Water 7 up to the point where he is in his lobby is him rejecting Luffy's ideals about mostly everything. And to come back now to where he tells him, hey, you wouldn't let me give up when I wanted to give up. So literally go back to the beginning. You wouldn't let me give up on everything that he's always wanted to give up on, whether it be running away from the fight, whether it be himself being a coward, whether it be him trying to find all of that, come right back to, and now he's integrating himself back into the ideas. You know, I support you to the point that I'm not going to let you, like, turn your back on yourself how you've never let us turn our back on ourselves. Because now, just like how you said it, now the crew's starting to point out Luffy's strengths, seeing how Chopper just said, oh, how does Luffy always get in there and know who to fight for? We do. Nami echoing it, saying he has that killer instinct, obviously, that they don't have. And now in Usopp saying, you would never let me give up, so knowing that I would give up if I was in this situation versus where you are now. And it's all starting to, that's what I like about where we're going in Thriller Bark, because if you see, it's like Water 7, you can see that as like a utopia, like paradise. They leave Water 7, now they're going in this lobby, which is like the government's like utopia, like paradise kind of.
Well, it's how you get to the gate of.
Yeah, the lobby, the Ennie's lobby.
Yeah, it's like it's like waiting for heaven.
Yeah.
But, or if you want to talk about, it's actually more like purgatory, because the gate opens and it either takes you to Impel Down or it takes you to Marine Headquarters.
And then we get to, in the levels of it, because I'm starting to see his levels to it, because that's what Thriller Bark is like when you look at it, and them really going into an abyss. It's not hell itself yet, but it's an abyss before. That's when we get to Impel Down.
It's like a look into the underworld before they have to jump into it.
And that's what I'm saying, because it's so great. You see how the characters are starting to identify their weaknesses as they're descending, you know, and versus they get to the point in which they fully descend is when they separate and you see the hell that's really going on. But
and then also another thing with the Usopp speech is it's him low-key admitting that Luffy's 100% right.
Yep.
Like, it's like giving the speech is him saying I was wrong. Like, it's just a full, it's like why later Luffy doesn't even wanting to think he has to apologize.
Right.
Because in his head he already apologized. Like, the speech was the apology.
Yep.
Like, the speech is basically, I'm sorry guys, I was in the wrong. Like, that's why Luffy, it was only Zoro later on that's like, I gotta hear him say I'm sorry to Luffy. Because in Luffy's head, he already apologized. Because he just admitted that he's wrong. he's always been a coward.
And of course,
but Luffy gave him the strength to not be a coward. And him saying, I understand that you weren't saying that the Mary has to go because it's worthless. You're saying the Mary has to go because we as a crew have outgrown it. That includes me.
Yeah.
Like, that's the point Luffy was trying to get to his head the whole time. It's not that you can't love the Mary. Like, the Mary's our friend.
You always love the Mary.
It's not that we're leaving the friend behind. Or it's not that we're leaving it behind because we don't care. It's we're leaving it behind because it will drag us down.
Mm-hmm.
But Usopp is convinced that he's the one dragging them down. But Luffy's saying, no, the Mary's dragging you down. Like, you're you're on the same level as us. Don't get it in your head that you're not good enough. And that's the entire speech is basically him saying,
yeah,
I get it now,
like
Luffy.
the Mary served her purpose, but you still have a purpose.
Or I don't even know if it's that. It's like or I don't know if it's just that. I think it's a little bit deeper than that. It's just because it's hard to say the metaphor correctly because it sounds bad if you say it wrong.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like it's like a reason to just use one of your friends.
No.
That's why I'm trying to be very, like, it's just.
Well, one thing we can say about the Ubermensch is a trait that I still love is that any comrade that follows them because they want to.
Yeah,
not
that's
because
the entire thing.
Not because he's coerced them into anything. So when you think about it, the Mary, which we're going to see after Lucci and Luffy's fight comes to its end, is that the Mary, another comrade, followed them because they wanted to, and her purpose in her own words was, I still have to get them to their destination.
But also, don't forget in the story, one of the people, like, in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, remember, like, one of the people, like, messes up their leg?
Yeah.
And they can't follow him anymore, and they have him, and Zarathustra's just like, no, don't blame yourself, it's not your fault that you got hurt. But when you get better, come back and there's still a place for you.
Yeah.
That's basically what's happening with the Mary. 'Cause her leg is basically broken. Her keel is broken. So she'll never be able to walk properly again if you want to think about it like in a human form.
Yeah, but come back, there'll be a place for her.
And we find out there is.
Yeah.
The
Mini Mary.
Yeah, what's his name? Takes the stern
from
the Mary and turns it and combines it with the Waver.
Yep.
Yeah, to make a mini ship for Nami.
And that's the same thing. It was like in Usopp's case, I feel like he went away because his leg would be his heart or his pride or whatever.
Yeah, his pride.
And that got broken. And it was like, don't blame yourself that you got hurt. Just get better. When you come back, there'll be a place for you. And literally he left and he comes back because his purpose is still there.
And he came back stronger because I think it has to go in with the belief theory that because Luffy believed that Sniper King is strong, like real strong. Like also like the Firebird thing that he uses.
Mm-hmm.
There's why has he never used that before? I think it was just his normal thing. Like his normal Firestar, but Luffy believed in it so much that it became a like a phoenix, like it became like a phoenix or an eagle, or
crazy too.
Or a red hawk.
That's even better.
Yeah, the foreshadowing there, but like
no, that's even better.
That's what because he does it. That's the first time he's ever used that move, the Firebird. You know what I mean? Like that's the first time Usopp's ever used it, and it only worked when the person with a god fruit believed that he was the best sniper in the world.
Yep.
Because remember, like when they're in the train at the beginning of Enies Lobby, he believed, like Sniper King's just like, I'm the greatest sniper in the world, and Luffy's just like, oh my god, it's so cool that the greatest sniper in the world's gonna help us rescue our friend. Like, and Chopper's the same way. So it's like, it's almost like a bunch of his lies come true because Luffy believes in him.
Oh yeah.
And
maybe
that's actually an entire motif for multiple arcs in the future.
Yeah, like I've already heard the theory about Usopp really not like all the stuff he told Kaya in the beginning were actually truths, because they said his observation hockey's so good that he saw that far in the future. But nah, like all the stuff he told Luffy never ever told him he was a liar. He just was like, sounds good, but and
or maybe it's Luffy's observation hockey is so good that he could. Because remember, his Conqueror's hockey is way stronger than a normal person's Conqueror's hockey.
of course,
Like the standard person that has Conqueror's hockey. Like the first time he ever accidentally uses it, he like knocks out an entire Marine army. Remember? Yeah. The first time he ever used it, he's just like, "Stop hurting my brother," or whatever he says in the English version.
I said quit.
And
I said
it just
stop.
Yeah. And they all just keel over. It's almost like what we see in these episodes when Shanks talks to Whitebeard, where Shanks doesn't even do it on purpose.
He's just walking.
He's just so strong.
He's just walking.
His Conqueror's hockey. But also,
he's just walking.
That Conqueror's hockey didn't affect Luffy as a child.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. That Conqueror's hockey is that strong, and Luffy just didn't care about it as a child. That
lets you know.
That lets you know a lot.
That lets you know. That definitely lets you know when it comes down to that Conqueror's hockey. Just how does it work?
Yeah. Well, I got a theory about how it works, and once we get to Rayleigh, I'll explain my theory. But it's the one I told you about, that hockey is just the will to power.
Yeah, we'll get there. But we talked about foreshadowing. That clash that him and Whitebeard had foreshadowed Reroll. I thought that was cool.
And speaking of foreshadowings, we have the biggest foreshadow in the entire anime in a minute. Like, you don't realize it's foreshadowing until episode 1000 of the anime.
What?
Ace versus Blackbeard.
That's not episode 1000.
No. I'm saying you don't know it's foreshadowing until you know that the Gum Gum fruit is actually the Sun God fruit.
That's not episode 1000 though.
I don't know the exact episode number. That's why I just said that. I think it's 951.
No, it's further than that.
It's something.
No, it's less than that. It's 973.
I'm talking.
No,
1000.
No, it's 1000. No, wait.
I thought 951 was the episode that we learned that the Gomo no Mi is.
That's 10.
Or no, 951 is the episode where King tells the story, isn't it?
No.
Then what's 951?
I don't know. No, I'm thinking of 1070 something. You talking about? Because I thought you was talking about.
No, I'm just saying that we know Luki's when we know Luki's the sun god.
Who's Luki?
I meant Luffy. No. I combined Nika and Luffy.
I thought you was going to go on about Blackbeard.
I started saying Luffy and then I finished it with Nika. That's
I
my
thought
bad.
you was going to say about how Blackbeard's stuff is with his fruit. You know, he's going something to do with that.
That theory?
Yeah.
I'll get into it a little bit when we get there in a minute.
I thought that's what you was going to say.
But after that, mysterious voice starts speaking to Usopp after he gives his speech. Only Usopp can hear it at first, but then Luffy's just like, wait a minute, what's that noise? And then Luffy and Rob finish their fight by Luffy ends up destroying Rob's legs. And Rob doesn't even notice it. Like, Luffy hits him with this big hit, and Rob's just like, haha, you're all out of energy. And then comes at him to try to kill him with his ultimate finger pistol attack.
Falls on his face. And
then, he just falls over because it turns out that his legs are broken. And he just didn't realize it because of how he was standing on them. So when he tries to run, they just... and he just face plants and he can't move. But also, Luffy is so devoid of nutrients from using Gear 2 so much that he also can't move. And so he's laying there. And then, well, actually, no. How he runs at him is Rob Lucci traps him in the wall while he's in his kid form from the Consequences Gear 3rd. And he comes back to normal and then, breaks Rob Lucci's legs. And then Lucci can't move anymore, but he hears the voice too. And the voice turns out to be the Mary. And the, what is it called? Klabautermann? Klabautermann. Which is just like the spirit of the ship, which I believe was brought to life because Luffy believed that the Mary was his friend. And that's what manifested their version of the... because how Frankie talks about it originally is like, it's just a myth that shipwrights would tell each other. Like how he brings it up. You know what I mean? Like, it's clear that he's just like, I don't think it's real, but it's crazy that you saw one. When he's talking to Usopp about it, it's like, wow, your ship must have been really loved. And Usopp was just like, yeah, she's the best ship anyone could ever ask for.
And even then, I still, like, when you think about Joy Boy's, like, allies, I still think they're, like, otherworldly. But
yeah, it makes sense.
There later, like, just how the Mary did that didn't do nothing but reinforce that original theory I had. Like, just because he believed that Mary was his friend, she did all that. Yeah. Coming from, because they weren't... They were by no means just around the corner from Water 7.
Yeah, and no also means. Don't forget, Kaku crashed the thing from like a 30-foot drop into the air directly into the Laguna. Junkyard. No, not the... Remember, he dropped it directly into the ocean in the middle of the worst storm the city has ever seen. Bruh. So, like, it should have immediately sunk as soon as it hit the water. But the fairy that lives inside the Mary was so powerful that it willed itself not to sink, pilot itself somewhere that is super treacherous waters in the middle of the worst storm in recorded history of Water 7. To get there in the middle of a buster call, which is almost impossible in a completely inassailable waters, because there's only a small gap of time where you can actually go in the water because it normally has whirlpools and other stuff going on. To do all that, there's no doubt in my mind that the Klabautermann, or however you say it, is a manifestation of Luffy's belief that the Mary is his friend.
Yeah, but the Klabautermann is different from the Mary, right?
Yeah, it's the spirit of the... how Frankly described it, is that it is the like physical embodiment of the spirit of the ship, if the ship is taken care of well.
Yeah, but it wasn't like Mary itself versus the Klabautermann. Klabautermann didn't show up here. It was just the Mary.
But no, what I'm saying is...
Klabautermann was like one of those... The way I remember Frankie explaining it was the Klabautermann being like some kind of spiritual mechanic to his ship that's loved by its crewmates.
Yeah, I think the Klabautermann is just a manifestation of the soul that Loki...
The Klabautermann was not here and like had no part in the Mary coming to where to pick them up. Like,
well, I think it would, because if the Klabautermann is just the Mary soul taking like a form, because Luffy believed it could. It's not though. But it could. What I'm saying is, it would make sense if that's what it is.
But it's not though. The Klabautermann's not an extension of Mary's soul. It's a mechanic, spiritual mechanic that comes to help a ship that's loved by its members.
I thought how he described it was specifically it is a piece of the ship that is, if a ship is well loved by its crew, is what I thought it was. I could be misremembering. Let me double check. I want to make sure I'm not putting words in Frankie's mouth. Yeah, it's supposed to be a spirit that lives inside the ship.
Yeah, so not the Mary. It's different than the Mary.
No, it's so according to the wiki, it's a spirit or fairy that dwells in ship and is essentially an incarnation of the ship that has developed life of its own due to being well loved and cared for.
Yeah, it's life of its own is the biggest thing. They're not synonymous. It probably came from the Mary and is embodiment of the Mary, but it has a life of its own. And that was the Mary doing all of that, not the Klabauterman. That's what I'm saying.
It sounds like the Klabauterman is just the soul of the ship. Like, I could be wrong, but that's just, like, that definition just makes it sound like the soul of the ship.
But it was the Mary that did all that. Like, because saying it's the Klabauterman and not the Mary takes away from all of that. Well, no,
so how I see what that means is that the Klabauterman is Mary. Like, that specific Klabauterman is Mary.
Because the only thing we've seen the Klabauterman being mentioned was in Skypiea when it was getting fixed. When we got to Water 7, right before the Mary left, Iceberg was doing repairs on it.
Well, he didn't get to do any repairs on it.
He did do some repairs on it.
You're talking about that.
Right before, he was the one who first heard the ship talk. And waves swept away.
I know what you're talking. You're talking about after Kaku drops it into the water, he finds it and finds it
in the junkyard, and he does some repairs on it. Like, this may not be enough to fix you, but it'll get you somewhere. And he was walking away, and he said, "Thank you." Got swept away and took. Like, that's why I'm saying it's not the Klabauterman. The only time we saw the Klabauterman was when it was getting fixed, and the Klabauterman fixed it, cared for it, did the repairs that they couldn't do at the time. So then when you come back, and now that's why if the Klabauterman was there, why didn't they do the repairs instead of Iceberg? That's why I say the Klabauterman wasn't present at that moment. It was just all the Mary, which makes that more synonymous with the theory that I had about Joy Boy and his allies, because all he had to do was believe they were allies and they would do their best to serve him, which is why the Mary talking and all of that.
So apparently we're like both half right. So
half truths didn't exist?
It's a half fact. It's not a half truth. But so apparently it's developing a Klabauterman is how the Mary's able to sail by herself, because the Klabauterman controls the rudder and the sail, according to the wiki. It's also the Klabauterman is how it's able to talk to people. It says Mary also developed the ability to communicate with people, seemingly telepathically. At first, it only seemed to be the crew that she sailed with. However, even the Galila shipwrights who had never seen Mary before were able to hear her, and the Mary seemed to be able to realize she was damaged beyond repair. So yeah, it sounds like the Klabauterman is a combination of different things. So it's like the soul of the ship turned into a being that can control the ship.
I'm still saying it's the Mary that did all that. You can say the Klabauterman. I'm saying
no. What I'm saying is the Klabauterman is Mary.
I'm gonna keep it as
it's just the name of the soul. Because apparently the Thousand Sunny has one too.
They haven't said it.
No, apparently it showed up in the Dressrosa arc. I didn't know that. It's like an Easter egg. There's like a little spirit dude. Oh yeah, it could be a movie, but it says it's during the Dressrosa arc that he pops up.
I'm going for the fact of everything that happens from when it got there to them burning the ship. It makes, for the story purposes of what I've looked at, it makes the most sense to call all of that the Mary and its will instead of downplaying it to Klabauterman. I'm just going to keep it Mary.
I'm just using Klabauterman as a term for the soul of the
ship.
I
say, you can. I'm just going to keep it Mary. When we talking about this part, I'm going to say the Mary did all that. I'm keeping it what feels right for the story, which is that the Mary did all of that because it makes sense.
Well, I think the Klabauterman is just Mary.
I think I'm just going to keep it Mary.
Because that's what the
Klabauterman can't exist without Mary.
Yeah,
so Mary's first. So I'm keeping it Mary.
So it's just Mary's soul. We can agree to that, right?
Mary
soul.
Mary. What do you mean?
Mary soul.
Mary. We're gonna say Mary. Like, I'm gonna say Mary. You can say Mary soul. That's fine, as long as we both understand what we're talking about. I'm keeping it. Mary did all of that. Got over there to them.
But here's the
made
big
sure
thing.
they got back.
Remember,
and it's fine.
The idea of a ship having a soul is supposed to be a myth. Like Frankie talks about it. Like, I've never heard of that happening before, and now that Mary has a soul, like, I think that's just Luffy believing that he's friends with his ship. Like, I think the reason the Mary's able to do all that is because the Luffy believed that him and the Mary are friends, so Mary created, or his belief in the Mary gave the Mary the ability to do all these things. I don't think every ship that is loved can do that. Do you? Because Shanks seems to really love his ship. Whitebeard loves his ship too, right?
We can't compare because we don't see them
I know, but I'm
grow
saying,
with
like,
these ships that they have.
But you know what I mean, though, right? Like, they clearly care for their ships. Like, they're special to them. But I don't think they're special to them in the way that the Mary is special to Luffy.
You still can't say that, though. Like, we can't
You're
say
right.
that
Can't say that for sure.
because we don't see them enough with
That's
their
true.
regular crews to even say that. Like,
Yeah.
every time we see the Straw Hats, it was with Mary at one point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like,
every moment that they're not on land, even some of the moments they're on land, they're still with the Mary.
and we know Whitebeard has duplicates of his ship. We saw that. Not saying he treats them any differently, but
Yeah.
he has a whole fleet. And Shanks, we literally have only seen Shanks. This last episode showed the most he's worked with his ship this whole time. Like,
But the only reason I bring Shanks up is because he's had a similar ship for a long time.
yeah, he's at the same ship for a very long time.
So, also another thing that I noted, the Galila symbol is a Viking longboat.
Mm-hmm.
But also Shanks is a Viking longboat. His ship is a Viking longboat. So I wonder if they made his ship.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because that'd just be a good touch. You know? If they got, because Galila also made the Thousand Sunny. Like, they technically did make the Thousand Sunny because they're not Galila when they put it together. But the members of Galila
You said the
helped.
same thing about
Frankie.
Roger's ship, the
Yeah.
Otto Jackson.
Well, technically Galila didn't exist then, and I don't know if Iceberg helped with that.
No, that was Tom.
Yeah, Tom. But Tom is the reason Galila exists. So the spirit of the creator of the Oro Jackson, like, lives, and like, remember, your spirit living on with that, what you do, is a big motif in One Piece. Like, what you leave behind matters is a big motif.
Oh, of course. Anyone who says otherwise ain't watching.
That's the entire point of the show. Is what the legacy you leave behind and the impact it has on others. That's literally the whole reason the plot exists. So you could argue it's the main motif of the show.
Of course.
At least for the first, until the time skip.
Nah, even then still. Because people were operating off the legacy Luffy had left behind up until that point.
No, the reason I'm saying that, like, because I haven't seen everything post time skip, but I've seen everything pre.
And as long as you
But
see
everything I've
Sabaody
seen,
Part
that's
2, you know what
yeah.
I'm talking about.
But yeah, that's like the biggest motif to everywhere that I'm from that I've gotten to. And then even that, like, that's one of the biggest parts of Dressrosa is Doflamingo's trying to come with grips that his family couldn't do the legacy that they were supposed to. Or he believed he's supposed to have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd argue that is the biggest motif of the show. But also, that being the biggest motif of the show makes something else really crazy. That's what the entire book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, is about.
Legacy.
Leaving behind the legacy that brings forth the overman. Like, that's the entire idea, is that it's just, you leave behind a legacy that's strong enough to create the Ubermensch.
Yeah.
And that's what he's trying to do. And that's, if you think about it thematically, that's what Roger's trying to do.
Or did.
Yeah, that's like his entire thing is he left something behind so great worth chasing. Something so great worth chasing that it makes all of humanity better if you reach it. It theoretically makes all of you... or it's not that it makes it better, it's that it takes humanity forward if you reach it. That's what Nietzsche was trying to do with Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And Zarathustra's a prophet, and you could argue Roger's a prophet.
Yeah.
Because since he couldn't do it, he just had to say, hey guys, I left all my stuff here. Y'all take care of it for me since I can't finish the job. That's what a prophet's supposed to do. Yeah, it's supposed to prep the world for the coming of whatever it is.
Yeah, because they knew. Which is what we start to see a lot.
And then with Joy Boy and everything, he left behind a legacy. Like his
he did
legacy,
the same thing Roger did, but on a grander scale.
Yeah, his legacy's so strong. There's a fruit that gives you the power of a god. Like that's.
No, yeah, the fruit was before him.
Well, you know what I mean. But he was the one that left the legacy.
He was the one who popularized the idea of the fruit, but the fruit itself was based on someone before him.
Yeah, but he left behind like a church and all this stuff. Like he didn't create the church directly properly, but there's a, you know what I mean. It's very similar to.
He didn't create it. We know. Yeah.
But it's very similar to what Zarathustra does in Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Yep. Like it's all set up to bring about a person that can change the world, that can change the moral system of the world, and you can see the government. The world government is the current moral system of the world.
Yep.
And the entire fight is to change it from what it is because it's clearly been corrupted over time.
Yep, we see it. And that's all these guys really pretty much doing. They're fighting that corruption. At least I feel like the pirates are doing it unknowingly. It's like you're fighting the system just being a part of the system because you're a pirate. But like people like Luffy, like the Shankses, like the Whitebeards, like the, you know, the Dragons, the Revolution. I wouldn't even say Kaido.
Well, Kaido wants to be Joy Boy.
He wants to be, so the idea of what it could really be is like, not.
So if not becoming like Joy Boy, him. If becoming Joy Boy is becoming the Ubermensch, right?
Yeah.
He wants to be the Ubermensch, but trying to become the Ubermensch to be the Ubermensch seems kind of like a thing that you can't do. It seems like you just have to want to be the best you can be to become the Ubermensch. And becoming an Ubermensch is just a byproduct of that. But if you just try to be the Ubermensch, you can't really reach it. Yeah, that's a beautiful like, parallel.
For Kaido, Kaido didn't try to be that because he told King himself that Joy Boy is the person who will come beat me one day. Is what he told King, and like that's why I said not Kaido because he wasn't searching for it. Like he was.
Well, he probably found out that he couldn't do it.
I wouldn't even say that. I would say that he pretty much only wanted it for his own personal glory, not for what it's actually meant to be.
That's the whole thing. I'm like, if you do it just because you want to be the Ubermensch because of the glory.
But that goes back to, you know, what it's actually meant for. Because if that was the case, Roger could have just took it.
Yeah.
Like, but because his own personal glory didn't matter. Matter of fact, he had got his personal glory from just knowing where it is. And he's already got considered king just for that. Not even using what's there. Just going there, seeing what it is. People know you went there and saw what it is, so you got called the king for that. Versus, oh shit. Maybe he didn't even try, like being, because still, Luffy has already said being king of the pirates is not even his true dream. His true dream. We don't know it is true. He has not said, or correction, Oda has not let us know what his true dream is, but he's told his crew. And like just thinking about how Roger became Pirate King just makes it just blatantly obvious now.
I feel like his true dream is super obvious.
It could
because he just wants freedom.
Because like for Roger to be considered the previous king of the pirates and not even use whatever's there to be intended, because the Pirate King's the first step.
Yeah, because to be the freest you can possibly be, it seems like being the Pirate King would be the first step.
Yeah,
like I feel like it's a logical place
it's something
to go.
Else. It gotta be something else.
Like in my head at least, like, if he just wants to be the ultimate expression of freedom, being the Pirate King would be, it's like Yo in Shaman King. Like, he just wants absolute freedom, so if he becomes God, he has absolute freedom. I don't know if you watched Shaman King growing up,
No, I haven't.
but that's the entire plot, is like every 1,000 years there's a battle to become God, and Yo just wants the freedom to do whatever he wants, and he knows that if he becomes God, he can just do whatever he wants and have absolute freedom. So they get saved by Mary showing up, and they escape. And while they're escaping, the Mary falls apart. Like, she breaks in half at the breaking her keel.
Yep.
Like, her back breaks under the weight of saving her crew,
Yep.
which is very poetic,
Very camely.
very camely. Well, also it shows like that being the camel is harder than it sounds. Is another like.
And I feel like they echo that, because it's funny. You know, Mary was the first one to break under the pressure of carrying everybody. Then we gonna see in Thriller Bark how Luffy gonna get his back broke. Not literally, but we see how him carrying everybody, the toll it takes on him.
And then we get to see that you had to follow the person that's going to be the Ubermensch. You got to be willing to take it on sometimes, too, when we get to the end of Thriller Bark. And that's going to be... It's, like, considered one of the best character moments in the entire show.
And I think we'll get there, obviously. But
we'll get there next week. I think that happens at episode, like, 372.
I think so.
Because it's like 3 or 4 episodes before the arc ends.
We pretty much today will be right where Oars comes in.
Yeah.
The
last episode, 350, was them saying, Oars.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's like the last word that is said. He's like, behold, Oars.
Got the
and then
right here at my fingertips.
51 is called like Oars opens his eyes or something like that.
But you just see how the idea of the camel in this arc, especially because it opens it, but we're gonna see the idea of the camel and the back and everything really echo to its maximum in Thriller Bark.
Also, another thing is they freed Robin from the clutches of the last men. Like, it had its full grip on her, but them refusing to give up on her when she was willing to give up on herself showed her that if like she kept persevering, she could make it through anything, even if she thought she couldn't. Because like the whole time she's just like, just let me die, and then she realizes that her crew has her back no matter what. Like, there's no...
It's a week after.
Oh, it's...
Week after. 77. Is Zoro's prepared to die.
Oh, that's 77?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Crunchyroll just has them completely wrong.
Probably so.
Because, what's it called? That's the beginning of the Sabaody arc, according to Crunchyroll. Fucking
I've been going by the wiki since we started this, and I've been...
Yeah, I feel that. The wiki feels more correct.
But, I don't know how it works with... I know the reason is probably off for Crunchyroll, because Crunchyroll still airs, like, all the fillers. They still air them all.
Yeah,
versus, like, the pirate sites and stuff like that don't even count them or don't even air them.
Yeah, I have to keep a list of fillers open while I'm watching. That way I don't accidentally watch filler. Because it's not that the filler is bad. It is bad, don't get me wrong. That's not why I dislike it. It's not the only... But it has, like, it's just... It feels like it's wasting my time, and it knows it. Because that's what filler's designed for. It's just designed
Space filler.
To give them time.
Something.
It's just, that's what filler's for. That's why Naruto has so much filler, is because the demand for Kishimoto's work was so high that he couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah. That, and I think the era in which you know, a lot of these shows were airing on TV matter a lot too, because, you know, if they don't air, they don't make no money.
Yeah.
So a lot of these fillers and stuff, you know, back when I think if streaming services existed this entire time, fillers wouldn't even be needed.
Yeah, they wouldn't exist.
But the fact we come from a place where, you know, these
also,
places made their money.
TV style.
Yeah, TV style, have to keep airing.
So you had to keep it
the
aired
censorships and all that, and
but you also had to do it like if you're doing a serialized series, you have to have it. It has to go in a certain time frame.
Yep.
So if the story's not caught up in that time frame, you have to put something in there.
Yep.
Because the time's already paid for.
And because the time zones, you know, especially holidays, and you get around to like world events like sports and stuff like that. You know, a lot of places, once they start getting specific like that, where they try to rake in their best viewers at the best times, which is why, like, you see a lot of, especially in One Piece, you know, it feels like they drag out a lot of this stuff, a lot of these moments, because they literally had to do that at one point.
Talking about that, there's something that I wanted to talk about. So, it turns out, I know we're talking about One Piece today, but this bothers me so much. It makes 100% sense that Kaguya is an alien in Naruto, because in fucking Shinto mythology, Kaguya is an alien that comes from the moon.
Mm-hmm.
That cracks me up so much.
I saw a video once about that same thing.
Yeah. So it's just like, no, you just don't know Shinto mythology if you think it's stupid.
And then
it's
not
perfect.
even that, like, when you think about structurally what introducing Kaguya as an alien did
you can't
for
do anything
Naruto.
else.
Yeah.
Like, they're so strong, you can't do anything else. Like, you either have to do that or you have to bring angels and demons in, and angels and demons don't work.
Nah, and when you look at how Hagoromo how they introduced Hagoromo in them, like, that introduction of how it worked just breathed the next chapter to be something like that.
Yeah.
Which actually, because there's like a lot of videos dissecting that, because a lot of people try to say it was bad writing, but no, it actually was the best option possible.
It's not even that it's the best option possible. It's the only option that doesn't feel forced.
Yeah.
That's the other big thing about it. Like, every other option, if you do it any other way, it feels like you did it because you just couldn't think of anything better. Yeah. But this, like, it being an alien is the only logical conclusion. It's like when continuing Dragon Ball, the only logical conclusion is to make Goku an alien.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing you can do. You can only make him an alien. You can't do anything else with him. It's the only thing that makes logical sense. It's the only way to continue the story without it. So when we eventually get aliens in One Piece, because the Lunarians are probably aliens.
But they've already introduced them, so it'll just be
you
like
know what I mean?
getting that, yeah.
They're probably from the moon. Their version of the moon. Probably. Also, so, you know the Seraphim running around?
Yeah.
You know Seraphim is Hebrew for burn?
Yeah. Makes sense.
No. The reason it cracks me up is because Lunarians can control fire, or at least breathe it. And the Seraphim are all like proto-Lunarians. It's just, you can tell that Oda likes his religious and mythological texts with it. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it tells me. And I think that's important. Because if, in case the existence of Mythical Zone Fruits didn't tell you that he likes mythology, the other stuff that he writes around does. So, the Straw Hats escape with Mary. Mary breaks. They go back to Water 7. Iceberg, Frankie, and Polly, and the other foreman at what's it called? Galila, help Frankie build a brand new ship. And even Iceberg admits that it's like one of the single greatest ships he's ever seen. Because, like, how Frankie, like, designed it, like, Iceberg was shocked. Like, I'm trying to remember the exact words, but it's something along the lines of like, I don't even know if I could have come up with something that good.
Yeah.
An iceberg's supposed to be the best living shipwright, but Frankie came up with what one of, if not the best shipwrights in the world, thinks is the best ship. You know that the ship is special. And also, like, we don't learn it here, but also the ship can transform.
Yeah, we see that later.
And it has an armory in it.
And it runs off cola.
Yeah, it runs off cola. Because it runs off the same stuff Frankie does.
Yep.
Also, it has a swing, and it has grass growing on it. Oh, yeah, it has a weight room on the mast. That's my favorite part of the entire ship. Is it has a weight room, like the perch at the top. It's a weight room that's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Actually, the entirety of the Thousand Sunny is bigger on the inside than the outside. Have you noticed that?
That's like a trope in all cartoons.
Like, it has the TARDIS.
Make the insides look bigger.
But, I mean, like, the inside of the Thousand Sunny is, like, impossibly big. But I think it fits the, like, whole thing.
I mean, you know the Sunny's apparently, like, as big as, like, a marine vessel.
Yeah, but you gotta remember,
those things are huge.
As a tank, the bedrooms, there's an elevator inside the mast thing.
The kitchen, the weight room, there's all their individual rooms.
Yeah, they all have because remember, the Thousand Sunnies, the boys shared a room and the girls shared a room. And they just slept on hammocks. So, it's a beyond impressive ship that's so well designed that it might break the laws of physics because Frankie is just a mechanical genius. Also, the bottom rotates. Like the armory on it rotates. Like, I believe it's a Super Sentai reference. You know how it goes from between, is it 1 or 0 and 5?
0.
It is 0, yeah. But you know, like Power Rangers or Super Sentai, the base would sometimes, it would like be like 1 to 0 or 1 to 5, like Power Ranger Zeo. It's just a good thematic touch, especially since we get another Super Sentai reference in like 400 episodes or 500 episodes. And then Iceberg tells Luffy that, well, first we see Usopp trying to come up with ways to weasel himself back on the crew and take back the entire speech that he gave Luffy earlier. Remember? Like, he's sneaking around. He's just like, he comes up with, what is it, like 64? Or it's some ridiculous number of scenarios in his head of where he invites himself back to join the crew.
No, I think all of them had them, like, begging him to come
Yeah, all of them had him begging him to come out. And so Nami pretended like she couldn't hear him when he walked up to the door. And then it cuts to the morning where they're talking to when Garp shows up. And everyone finds out Garp is Luffy's granddad. Kobe and Zoro are, Luffy and Zoro meet up with Kobe from the first episode of the show. And Helmeppo, Captain Morgan's son. And they catch up with Kobe because Kobe's Luffy's friend. And it's a good parallel, like Kobe's is clearly supposed to be the next Garp. And Luffy's clearly supposed to be the next Roger. It's just a good thematic parallel.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that is one thing Oda is very good at. Like, there's some things he's not good at. There's some things he's okay at. But his thematic parallels are some of the best in anime, probably. Or, like, manga as a whole. You know? Like, he just sprinkles them in. And he's just like, figured out retards.
Nah, he's the king of foreshadowing, for sure.
I don't want to say he's the king of foreshadowing, but he's definitely one of the better ones.
That's the nickname he got. That's not the one I gave him. That's the one I've heard
Like,
a lot of people say it. Cause
I get a lot of people say it. But I'm not... I can't say he's the king of foreshadow, but he's definitely up there. He's definitely in the top 3. I'll give him that. I'll give him top 3 status. That's GOAT status. Like, it puts him in the conversation of GOAT status. But he might even be in the top 2. I just don't know if I can clear conscious give him number 1.
Who do you give number 1?
I don't know. That's why.
That's that's funny.
No, that's like you gotta like that's the fairest thing.
No, it's not.
No. So
you literally
there's
just
a
said
couple of
if
grades.
you literally just said you have him top 3, moved him top 2. Then asked who's top 1, you can't give somebody better than him.
No, it's not that I can't give someone better than him. It's just that I have them all around the same, so that by default means that they're not number 1.
Hey,
like the dude that wrote Death Note.
As long as it makes sense.
Like the dude that wrote Death Note, like the foreshadowing in the non-sequel part of Death Note is like fucking top tier as fuck. I like Kishimoto almost, but I feel like he's not quite there. I feel like he's top 5.
Somebody pulled a old cover page back in the day that when Oda drew everybody as knights, and he literally had a bird on Sanji's, or was it a bird? He had a horse or a bird on one of them. It was Sanji and Zoro's, one of their shields. I know Zoro's, I think, had a horse, and I think Sanji's had a bird. And both of them had clashes with him in Egghead, which was a bird and a horse. And that's what it was talking about. One of the recent things I talked about, his foreshadowing.
So,
in something that was just a cover story.
So, the single greatest example of foreshadowing I have ever seen in anime has absolutely nothing to do with the author of the anime, which bothers me. Do you know what the single greatest bit of foreshadowing I've ever... So, have you seen Hellsing Ultimate?
No.
So, the title card of Hellsing Ultimate is... it says Hellsing Ultimate, I am a bird that eats his own wings to be tamed, or something like that. And it's an old alchemical saying about the phoenix will eat its own wings so that the god Hermes can control it.
Yep.
And that's what the entire anime is about, is that one fucking line in the title card.
So the whole anime is about that?
It's about the fact that Dracula strips himself down to his coarse component so he can listen to the human that is the descendant of the only person he has ever respected. That's the entire anime, is just him. He respects this one person so much that he's willing to restrict himself to his weakest form just to be around someone that's related to that person. You gotta admit, that's some crazy ass foreshadowing, because that's what the term means. Like that line of the bird of Hermes eats his own wings to be tamed. It's that the thing that's being tamed likes the person that tamed it so much that it's willing to not be itself to be around that person. And that's what the entire thing is.
I wouldn't call that a foreshadow, because when we talk about things,
so
that's
the
like
reason I say it's
thing.
A foreshadow is because he literally admits to that's how he came back at the end when he accidentally erases himself from reality.
Yeah, like a phoenix.
Yeah, so he erases himself.
But like, when you talk about,
but here's the thing though,
it happens.
The guy that wrote the anime didn't put that line in. That was the producer came up with that line.
That makes sense. But when I'm talking about foreshadowing, it means it like tells a story of an event that's gonna happen.
You don't find it. So that line's there, and you don't find out until like the last 4 episodes of Hellsing that it's about Hellsing respects this one dude so much that he's willing to give up his role as a god.
A foreshadow, I would call that more like along the lines of motif versus a foreshadow.
But like, there's a certain line when a motif is so good that it is a foreshadow.
I know there's a line.
Or a foreshadow is so good that it becomes a motif.
Like, I understand it's a line, but when we're talking about when I say Oda's the king of foreshadowing, it's like he's a lot of things we see, he's foretold already, but you wouldn't know unless you paid attention to the minor details. And it's an event that's already happened in the story. So, like, the example I gave with the shields, and I can't think there's another one that they did when they talked about how it was one foreshadow that they gave away with Joy Boy on a shirt. Like, Luffy's version of Sun God was on like a shirt from like Frankie in like one of their color spreads, and it was like some other thing. It's like, but these like foreshadowing events that's gonna happen that we wouldn't have known unless we go back and look.
Like, yeah, but also with the Hellsing line, it's every character that Alucard fights shows what the line means. It's just you can't put it together until you finish the show.
Yeah, so it's like a motif. I would definitely say that's like a motif.
I feel like it's also because it's not just him that goes through that.
I mean, but
I know what you mean by motif, but because like the Catholic dude does the same thing, and then the butler does the same thing.
Yeah,
like
so it's like a motif when you put the idea, spread it out like that. Because what I'm talking about is foreshadowing of something happened in the story, not that ideas that people are following. Because you can do that with a lot of characters, like give them ideas and have them follow that this is the idea that they represent, which is fine. But when I say foreshadow, we're talking about like foreshadow. No, because like when you foreshadow something, it has to tell the story of something that's about to happen. Like, you can say that's saying that, and that's how the anime is gonna end, and it's gonna follow that belief, and that's fine. But like, this happening tells the story of this happening before it ever happened, not before the story ended. Or you find like Attack on Titan, like them foreshadowing how, what was it? It was something that happened that foreshadowed Grisha, like Eren eating Grisha. And I think it was when we first saw him meet the guy, the king guy, that family. It was like something that happened. I can't remember what it was that was like foreshadowing. I think when we went in there, we first meet him, he was eating something. What was it? He was eating something, and that was supposed to have been foretold of Aaron's supposed to eat him. And I know there's the one with when you go back and you see they foreshadowed Aaron taking the option that he did when you go back to when it was like that bench when he first sat down, when they first introduced him in season 4, and how he was acting with everybody else. Because, you know, when it came back that he already knew everything, and you go back and watch it, you see like a lot of stuff that he was doing just pushed the idea that he was going to handle the rumbling the way he did. That's those type of things, like foreshadow those kind of events.
So there is an important thing with that thing I am telling you, foreshadow, that I'm not going to tell you, because it's like it can completely ruin the entire story. But with that context, I think you'll understand what I mean. Like, you find out in the last episode, and it ties it all back together from with that line. So it ties it all back. I just don't want to tell you that because I think you should watch Hellsing Ultimate, because I think you'll like it. And I don't want to ruin that part. But that part, it's like, it changes it from just a motif to where it's a foreshadow, because the thing that happens at the end is constantly, like, it's constantly foreshadowed throughout the dealings with Alucard.
That's what they call it. That's not a seance. That's a cadence. Yeah, it's a cadence.
But it's
that's a cadence. Yeah.
But when you,
that's a different literary element. That's a cadence.
But there's it's like brought up in the first or second episode, the idea that ties it all to that phrase, and then what that represents for the rest of the thing, and it's constantly foreshadowed. But it's like Attack on Titan, where it doesn't make sense until you see the last episode. And then you see that they've set it up the whole time in like this first or second episode.
Yeah, that's the you talking about with the whole thing with the
But I
first
don't wanna,
Titan and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't want to say what that is because it changes.
You good.
It's a real good anime, and I recommend everyone that likes hyper-violent stuff watch it. But I do have to tell you, there is one super fucking dark point of it. Like a really fucked up dark part of it. So be careful which version of Hellsing Ultimate you watch. Because the like unrated version is fucking... There's one moment that's fucking crazy. And I do mean the word fucking. Like it is. Like it's like 5 episodes of redo of Healer fit into 10 minutes. One of these episodes. Near the end of the show. But other than that, it's a great show and I recommend it. But back to the topic at hand. They talk with Garp. Garp pretends that he can't catch Luffy. Luffy's too hard to catch. And Sakazuki gets mad at him. Which is pretty funny to me. That Garp's just like, I couldn't catch my grandson. He's too slippery. Darn. Well.
Drat.
I love the entire reason that he does that too is because part of him wants Luffy to join the Marines, so he doesn't want to catch him and throw him an impel down.
Yep.
It's because he believes that he can convince Luffy to be a Marine. And if he can convince Luffy to be a Marine, then he can get rid of the bounty. But if anyone else catches him, they won't do that.
No,
and so that's his entire thing. Which, like, it just makes Garp endearing. And it goes back to his character moment in Marineford that actually will bring a tear to your eye. Where he gives his version of the Kakashi talk.
Oh, yeah.
I still like the Kakashi talk more, but the his talk with Ace at Marineford is...
Oh, yeah. We're going to get there.
Yeah. That's only, 9 weeks away?
I don't think it's that.
Because it's episode 520, right? Something in that ballpark? Because Thriller Bark's only 50-something episodes. It's like 54 episodes. And then Sabaody, I think, is like 12 episodes.
Yeah, but you gotta know we gotta get through Sabaody and Impel Down before you get to
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I mean Marineford, not that specific episode.
Yeah,
that happens like halfway through Marineford.
What? We get to Marineford.
We're like 200 episodes away, I think.
457.
Oh, so we're less than... We're 100 episodes away from Marineford.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I kept thinking it started at like 520. Huh. I guess Impel Down's shorter than I remember it being. Well, to be fair, the beginning of Impel Down is kind of slow, so that makes sense.
Impel Down stops at 425.
Okay, cool. Blaze it. It's ironic because they're going to save the fire guy.
Matter of fact, the actual Impel Down arc itself, which is only like 4 episodes.
It must have just felt long.
That's what they said. It's only like 4 episodes, but I don't think it's true because you got.
Well, a lot of people consider it
the
Amazon
beginning of it.
Stuff.
The beginning of it's 4 episodes.
Okay.
The rest of it's like it goes from.
Okay, that makes sense. I believe that. That makes sense. Okay.
430 to 456.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, cool. I agree with that 100% wholeheartedly. But Garp leaves, gets chewed out by Sakazuki, so he has to turn around. Luffy wants to ask Frankie to join since he made their ship, even though the entire conflict happened because Frankie fucked them over. But Luffy's just like, well, you helped us save Robin. That eliminates the fact that you were mean to my crew. You were willing to sacrifice your life to save one of my crewmates. It makes up for the fact that you beat up one of them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, oh, you got real one DNA. Okay, big dog. Daps him up. And he's, like, asking him. And everyone knows that Frankie wants to go. But Frankie doesn't want to go.
Yep.
Or he pretends that he doesn't want to go. And to help convince him, Robin casts testicular torsion. That's what happens.
Pretty much, bro.
She summons flowers on his dick and squeezes his balls with them.
This guy.
And we know that's what it is because he says, like, stop touching the jewels or something like that.
Stop
Like
playing with the jewels.
Yeah. And he's not happy. So we know she's not doing anything uncouth. So she's just squeezing the fuck out of his balls. And, like, people around him are wincing because he's, like, laying on the ground crying in pain.
Yeah. Come on, man. All the guys know here. You ever seen a dude get kicked in the nuts for sure? Oh, you gonna feel it too.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Like, he made my throat dry watching that. I was like...
So I had to stop watching, like, skateboard fails and stuff.
Yeah.
Some dudes fuck around get popsicled in one video now.
I had to stop because I saw some dude's face get busted open.
Oh, no. Forget all that.
Yeah, that shit... Like, I saw some dude's brain fall out their head.
But, yeah, he ended up leaving. Bro, I ain't gonna lie, though. I don't know what all it could have took to persuade the average person to join the Straw Hats, but I'm pretty sure if you would did something like that, you would just had to join, bro.
Yeah, be like, okay, I joined. Just stop. And then they have to leave because Garp shows up, but they were trying to wait on Usopp, and Usopp took his sweet-ass time. Zoro has a conversation with Luffy because Luffy just wants to let Usopp back, but Zoro's just like, no, you can't just let Usopp back. If Usopp comes back and begs for his spot back and says I was wrong in no uncertain terms, I have no problem with him joining again, but I refuse to have someone that won't listen to my captain on the crew. And that characterization of Zoro was just nice. I like how he's just like, no, I have my captain's back so much that if someone refuses to have my captain's back, I'm striking them down.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a good... Like, he tells Luffy, like, he already questioned your authority once. Unless he promises not to do it again, I'm not letting him back on the ship. I'll cut him down. I do not care. We do not play those games. We do not hand out those prizes. Like, that's what he basically says. He's just like, I don't care, Luffy. He's not coming on the ship. If he comes on the ship, I'ma kill him. Unless he apologizes to you and admits that all that he did was wrong. Because we all know he was wrong, and he knows he's wrong. So you can't let him on the ship unless he's, like, finally decided to man up for the first time.
Yep, and he literally was keeping all of them little hopes alive. They were just going to let him on the ship up until the point where they actually was leaving and he had to apologize.
Yeah.
Which
and he's like,
right
to the
thing.
point of tears when he apologizes.
It was the right thing to do.
But also, you got to... It was probably super hard for Usopp. Because
he
has to... the apology is him admitting... Like, he has to admit, not only was he wrong, but he was so wrong that his entire way of viewing the world was wrong. You know, like, that's what he has to admit when he does that. He has to admit that he wasn't just wrong for what he did. The entire thought process that led him to doing that is wrong. So everything that he thinks about himself is wrong. So he basically has to kill the part of himself that's weak be able to, which is a good thing. Like, it's a cool characterization moment for Zoro, because Zoro's just like, I'm not saying you can't come back because you're weak. I'm saying you can't come back because you're too weak to admit to me that you are weak. Because if you admit to me that you are weak, you have to admit it to yourself. And you lie to yourself too much to tell yourself that you're weak. So he's basically like telling Usopp that if you can admit your shortcomings to yourself, a character that never admits his shortcomings to himself, to admit his shortcomings to himself, he can come back scot-free. But it's almost impossible for someone that has no self-awareness to be aware of themselves. So when he gets that he might get left behind completely is when he finally like locks in. He's just like, I'm sorry, you're right. Getting rid of the Mary wasn't a bad thing. That's actually what we had to do to get stronger ourselves. I'm sorry what I put you guys through. I understand it was hard for Luffy to fight me because that meant he had to hurt somebody that he cared about. And I'm sorry that I disrespected the rest of the crew by saying Luffy wasn't worth following. And he finally admits that I was mentally too weak and I apologized that my mental weakness hurt you guys. Like, that's basically what his apology is. His apology is, I'm sorry that my weakness hurt you. And that I'm going to continue to work on this weakness. That way it no longer hurts you. And then they let him back on the crew because that's what they needed to hear. And then they're off. And then it cuts to the next episode. Ace finally finds Blackbeard.
Finally found that boy.
Yeah, that murderer.
Murderer.
And then...
Murderer.
And we see Ace is stronger than Blackbeard, like 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's much stronger than Blackbeard. It's just Blackbeard's Logia is supposed to be the most powerful Logia in existence.
And it's special.
Because it's supposed to take away every devil. Like, I looked it up. Apparently, it can cancel, like, Zoan transformations, too.
Yep. No, he fully nullifies it.
Yeah, it's
fully
like
nullifies it. It's like you don't got it right now.
Yeah, if he touches you, you're...
Because you see, literally...
it's not just that it absorbs other Logia's stuff.
It stops
the
other fruits from activating their abilities.
So, what I think it is... So, his fruit is the Yami Yami no Mi, or the Dark fruit, or the Darkness fruit, depending on the translation. Though I think Dark fruit is more fitting. And the powers that he can use is that he can use gravity. So I'm thinking, because it's a meta joke, if this is what it is, and Oda loves his meta jokes, is that it's not actual darkness that he uses, but it's gravitons, because gravitons are the fundamental, like, building blocks of gravity, theoretically. They don't actually exist, or we don't know if they exist. It looks like they exist. And they work almost exactly like photons, which photons are light, so they're basically the wave of dark if you think about it. And we know there's a light fruit, or glint fruit, or glimmer fruit, depending on the translation.
Whichever you want to go.
Yeah. But also, gravitons can theoretically create dark energy, dark matter, and black holes.
All of which we see Blackbeard do.
Well, dark matter and dark energy is just energy that you can't see or detect. Mm-hmm. And the same with dark matter. But it also explains why, unlike a normal Logia, he can't turn into the actual thing. Because, like I said, Oda loves meta jokes. We don't know that gravitons exist. So he wouldn't let him turn into the thing that he doesn't know exists.
True.
Like, it makes sense. Like, Oda makes similar jokes before. Like, and people be like, what's a meta joke that makes sense then? Another one of Oda's meta jokes. Brooks and drinking milk is a meta joke. Because, like, the whole reason that milk's so popular in Asian countries is because they wanted to rebuild their agriculture sector, so they just said milk had way more calcium and was better for your bones than it actually was. And so it's in One Piece as that it fixes Brooks immediately. Like it's like a healing potion for Brooks. We're about to get into meeting Brooks though, but they're like that's just an example of the fact that Oda loves his meta jokes.
But what this further explains is this might also explain why the graviton theory is the whole theory of why he nullifies devil fruits.
Yeah, because
we go to the part, if everything's starting to be based on imagination and belief that we're starting to see in the later chapters, you start to look at Blackbeard, and with the what's the gravitons, right?
Gravitons, yeah, that's what
with the theory of gravitons versus you see that we don't know if they exist, so of course it would be the absence of light, and we see.
Well, no, it's not the absence of light. It's just that they act like light, and so
But
if they
dark,
make up
right?
dark, no, it's not that it's dark. It's that if they make up dark matter, like they theoretically can,
Yeah,
then
So
it
that
would
would-
be because we talked about it. Every Logia but the light fruit and his fruit are actual matter.
yep,
Because like lightning's a plasma, fire's a plasma. Every Logia fruit is matter, except for the light one. It's light's a wave, and gravitons are theoretically a wave. If they exist, they're a wave that move at the speed of light. So it would explain why he would be able to compete with a light fruit user at the same level. But it also explains why he can't turn into the thing.
yep,
Because it would just be Oda making the joke that these don't exist, so I'm not letting him turn into one.
yep.
And also, if it is, since gravitons can create black holes, it explains why it gets rid of devil fruit powers. Because nothing can escape a black hole.
Yep.
And also, he specifically calls his ability, he uses the unique power of darkness, gravity.
Yeah. They describe it as gravity up in the wiki too. So
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
that was interesting.
And it's not, and they're not saying gravity as in like the version of meaning gravity, like the gravity of a situation. They mean it gravity like the actual force. You know what I mean? Like the pulling things to something. And that's what gravitons theoretically do. They are the things that carry the force of gravity. So he can amplify the amount of gravity in a single point by putting more gravitons there
Yep.
instead of controlling the individual gravitons like Admiral Fujitori or however you say his name.
Admiral Fujitora.
He would probably control how the graviton itself works. But if the dark fruit is a graviton fruit, it makes you a graviton man. It explains how the darkness gravity power works. And the other thing about gravitons is that they're totally analogous in, well, not totally, but they are very similar to how photons work. Photons are the wave that creates light. So how they're different is that they have a spin of 2 times Planck's constant, but they fall under the same category of wave. If they do exist, they'll fall under the same category of wave as light, which doesn't go against the idea of other logias, because every other logia being either matter or wave, it being a theoretical wave, doesn't mean that you can't be a logia with it. It's kind of hard to say it how I want to say it in my head, but basically, if it is the graviton fruit, gravitons exist in darkness because they just exist in the emptiness of space. And when looking at the different things that the kanji from his fruit can mean, it can also just mean the darkness or like the empty blackness.
I think empty blackness would be better synonymous for what we're trying to say.
But like that's not a perfect translation for it, but it's like a translation that I saw. But that's where you would find gravitons. So, or the easiest place to observe gravitons. And so when he creates what looks like actual matter, when he makes like the shadowy tendrils and stuff, also got to remember those aren't shadows that he creates. That's actual darkness. But if it was dark matter, that would make perfect sense.
Yeah.
And gravitons can theoretically make dark matter. Like if gravitons exist, a bunch of physicists believe that you could use gravitons to create dark matter. So it makes absolute perfect sense that if the Yami Yami no Mi is actually gives you the ability to become a graviton man, that you could create shadowy tendrils because you're just creating dark matter. Like you're just making dark matter, and that perfectly explains everything that he does. It also explains black hole working and that he can do so white holes or black holes suck everything up, right? Mm-hmm. There's a theoretical thing called a white hole that is the exact opposite of a black hole that can theoretically also be created by gravitons. And that's literally the attack that he uses against Ace, is he uses a black hole to absorb everything and then uses another attack to spit everything back out. Which can be all that can theoretically be created by a graviton. Like white holes was like a concept that Einstein invented, came up with. It's like part of his theory of general relativity.
Yeah.
But it's just like one of those things, like, it makes it make perfect sense.
That's probably why his Devil Fruit is special. Just give an idea of what it might be wrapped around when it finally comes out, what his Devil Fruit might be.
We get probably the biggest piece of foreshadowing in the entire series of Ace versus Teach. Because if you extrapolate it out to it's light versus dark. Because fire's like the first source of light we ever created. You know? Like as humans, you can look at it as fire being the first ever source of light that we created. And then against the darkness, and they clash. And then later on in the story, Luffy becomes the primordial light. Or the sun. Like he's the embodiment of the sun. And he's about to clash against unfathomable darkness. It's just like, I just thought that was a great bit of foreshadowing because you don't know it's foreshadowing. Like, it took what, 10 years to learn that was foreshadowing?
I think it's a bigger piece of foreshadowing than that. Because
like,
you said
it might be
just
an
with
even
the
bigger
just
version.
with the fire being the primordial version of light.
Well, the sun's the primordial, but fire's the first thing we ever...
The first.
Yeah.
So fire was the first thing that taught us about light in order to help us get closer to the sun. So
well, I wouldn't say closer to the sun. It's the first thing that let us cut through the darkness.
Hold on. So when you think about that versus Ace being something Luffy modeled himself after, because he doesn't have firepower yet at that point. We all know that. But then look on the side of Blackbeard just being darkness, you know, Ace has been such a pivotal figure for up until now to where he is, versus also Blackbeard's also been a pivotal figure, but Blackbeard's preserved himself. Ace has preserved everybody around him. So let's understand why Luffy do that. But I think those two forces are what's gonna be going against each other, like strictly in the end of where the story is. And I think they're gonna put somebody else on Blackbeard's side, because Luffy's exalted himself in the Ace's position, so it changed. It hasn't changed on Blackbeard's side yet, at least on what I see, but I think it will change.
And there's also the theory that the reason Shanks was in Windmill Village and everything is because Roger wanted him to make Ace the next Joy Boy.
Oh yeah, I've heard theory. That. I've definitely heard that.
But Ace didn't care to be the next Joy Boy. But it makes perfect sense why Shanks stole it from CP9. Or was it CP9 that King worked for?
It was
because that's who Shanks stole it from. Was King,
no, not
or King was like protecting it or whatever.
No, he
It's
stole
not
it
King?
from a ship. Nah, the guy who was an
I could
agent.
have sworn it was.
King's been a fugitive this like
Yeah,
whole time. Like
Yeah, I thought before he was a fugitive, he was a
No.
member of CP.
oh no,
That I must be
No.
getting him confused with someone with a similar name.
because
there's
who's
a-
who?
There's a
Who's who?
dude that learns the story of Nika.
Who's who?
Who's who? That's his name. My bad. I called him King. That's my bad. Who's who?
No, that's who's
Who's who?
who. He the one who knew about Nika and all that, and he was a member.
And he's the one that Shanks stole it from.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
member of Cypher
who?
Pole. It might have been 9, but yeah, Shanks stole
It's
it.
Cypher Pole something.
Yeah.
I know he's a member of CP
And
something.
then he got in trouble for that. He got
Yeah.
court-martialed.
And then
They-
thrown an impel
yeah,
down.
thrown
And then
an
he learned
impel
the story of
down.
Nika. But, like, there's no way Shanks just happened to steal that fruit. Like, he might not have known what it was, but he knew that it was that fruit.
Yeah.
Like, he knew that
100%.
fruit was important.
Yeah, because he is amongst the people who knew why Roger didn't go. Even though he didn't sail with them to the end, they came back and saw. Like, he came back and saw everybody, so.
Yeah. It also makes sense because, like, that version of Shanks there is the version of Shanks that shocked the world when he fought Mihawk.
Yep.
So we know he's one of the strongest people in the world at that point because it's supposed to be the greatest duel anyone's ever seen. Like, that's how Whitebeard describes it.
Yep.
He's like, it's one of the single greatest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
Like, he was just like, if these kids would have been there when you fought Mihawk, their lives would be changed or something like.
Oh, yeah.
Or I think he says they would see the world in a different way like I do.
Yep.
It was something crazy. But also, don't we know that he's from the North Blue or is it the West Blue? Because he says the giant bottle of sake that he brings Whitebeard is from his hometown.
Oh, shoot.
I forgot.
Okay.
So it tells us where he's from that episode that he goes to talk to Whitebeard during
I couldn't tell you.
during this arc. Because this is the thing that they were so the Gorosei were so terrified 100 episodes ago of these two meeting because
Yeah.
they're the two probably the two strongest pirates.
Yeah. No, they're the two most influential.
Because people tell me I'm crazy, but I think Shanks would beat Kaido. Like if they fought 1-on-1.
I can see it.
Like,
But we still haven't seen what Shanks can really do. Like,
yeah,
everything
like
now
he one-shot
has only been,
someone.
like,
He one-shot someone
with
that
not even
was
only
half,
using like 10% of his power.
probably
like,
not even that.
Yeah.
Probably not even.
'Cause,
Like he
yeah.
one-shot somebody that Big Mom couldn't one-shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like let's just say like Law and Kid probably each did 50% of Big Mom fight, right?
yeah, I can
Well,
see that.
Kid arguably did more in the Big Mom fight, but let's give Law his due. Let's say it's like 50-50.
Yeah.
He one-shot Kid, completely took Kid out of commission. Like, Kid can't do shit.
And he was
With
healed
one
up
shot-
and everything. Yep.
One shot in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like in 5 seconds. Like he just...
Gone.
Somebody that's roughly half the power level
Yeah.
of one of the other warlords. And Big Mom is comparable in power to Kaido. Kaido's much stronger, but they're comparable, you know what I mean? So I think Shanks 100% beats Kaido. I think Kaido is physically stronger than Shanks,
Mm-hmm.
but I think Shanks is better everywhere else.
I think the only real caveat that Kaido has on Shanks is how much destructive output he has in a single thing, but I don't think that matters enough because we've seen Shanks just go, like, especially in that last fight, we just want to go off that. He can get anywhere he wants in an instant. So I don't really see, unless Kaido's like way the fuck far away shooting at Shanks, that's it. But even then,
they
like,
have to cover so much
yeah,
ground.
but
You
yeah,
have to get
and
so far away so
Yeah.
fast that I don't
it'll
think he'd be
a
able
lot.
to do.
Yeah,
Like,
and plus with that
it might
type
be
of
a
power,
close fight.
like
but-
with Shanks' level of hockey control that we've seen over just the entire span
Also,
of One
the
Piece.
ability to mess with other people's ability to use hockey.
Yeah,
Like, his Conqueror's hockey is so good that it can be like, you don't
Yeah.
have hockey now, my guy.
yeah,
like-
yeah. I think it'll be a lot.
I think he solos Kaido. Like, I think
I don't disagree with that.
like, I think his armament hockey is so strong that he just cuts through his his club, and then Kaido's just like, fuck. Because remember, he can use that special version of armament hockey.
Yeah.
That's Luffy can't even use, the one where it works like Divergent Fist instead of normal.
Yeah.
Where they explain it's not.
Luffy can use that.
I know Luffy can use that, but there's one that even more advanced than that, and I assume that Shanks can use that.
I mean, they just in the thing right now where they showed that he could. When both of them hit and they made that gash in the sky, that's the gash in the sky as they showed.
But
that's the.
I wouldn't be surprised if Shanks has even more, like, shit up his sleeve. Like, he's got an entire arm's worth of sleeve to hide shit in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because doesn't he wear like a long sleeve shirt?
No. Well.
And it's just like I thought it was like rolled up to his.
I thought it was just. I've only seen him with the cloak. And when he take the cloak off, it's just yeah. But,
yeah. There's a long sleeve on his other arm, right?
I guess.
Like his empty arm?
Like I say, all I've seen is just the cloak. Yeah. I would assume.
But, yeah. That's beside the point. Like, when, back to the Blackbeard and Ace stuff, we don't see who wins implicitly. We just see Ace getting absolutely dogged on. Because it's like...
We know Blackbeard won, though.
No, I'm saying, like, it doesn't show it at the end of that episode. It just shows them, like, clashing.
But we know Blackbeard won.
Like, the implication is Blackbeard won.
That's how he got his status. Was because
that's how he became. Yeah.
Like, the whole reason that the Marines got Ace was because of Blackbeard.
Yeah. But you know, like the episode ends with him using Fire Pillar and Blackbeard using what's it called, and they clash.
Yep.
And then the implication is that Blackbeard won, and then it cuts to some fillers. And I didn't watch the filler because the filler doesn't tell the story. And also, the last filler that I watched was terrible for One Piece, so I don't want to watch any filler for One Piece if I can help it. Because, like, the Seahorse couple episodes sucked. I think you can concur with that, right?
It's not my favorite, but I don't care for it. I've watched the whole thing.
Also, some of the Foxy episodes are filler, too. So, I think that just reiterates. So, we start the Thriller Bark arc. And the opening for Thriller Bark is kind of slow. Because they find what's supposed to be the unoffering to the sea god. They open it. It's really just a flare. What's it called? There's a good little moment with Zoro where he's just like, they're just like, all we got to do is pray to God. And then make a new offering. And if we drink all the booze, it's fine. And he's just like, I pray to no God. Let's open it. Let's drink the booze. He's like, I don't pray to God. He's like, fuck God. Remember, he specifically says, didn't you already beat the crap out of God? To Luffy. He's like, didn't you beat the crap out of God in Skypiea? And they open it, it's just a flare. After that, they run into a ghostly looking ship, and there's a skeleton drinking tea on the deck. They talk to him, and almost immediately Luffy invites him to join the crew just because he thinks the skeleton is awesome. Which is something I think is hilarious. That he's just like... I don't even think he knew Brooks was a musician at that point. Because I don't remember him saying, I'm a musician.
He just invited him off and being a talking skeleton.
Yeah, he just thought the idea of a talking skeleton was that cool. That he's just like, you gotta join my crew, big dog.
But
And then... Brooks, what's it called? Devil Fruit Power might be one of the most OP ones in the entire verse. Because he's just randomly almost indestructible now.
Yeah, now. But, you know,
like,
he had to die first.
It's not supposed to
die first for it to actually work.
So what happened is he ate the Revive fruit, and it just brings you back to life after you die. But apparently it's only supposed to bring you back once, is how they describe it. But... it took so long since his ship was trapped in a
The
was it a
Floridian
fog?
Triangle. Yep.
Yeah, that his soul couldn't return to his body. But that also tells us that souls exist in One Piece,
Yep.
which is a good little note.
I mean, we know souls exist in One Piece.
But I'm saying like this is undeniable proof that the Christian version of souls exist. Like the idea of souls that exist in like the Bible, like the part of you that like makes you human, like the intrinsic, whatever you want to call it, your soul, whatever other name you got for it. In a little bit, they're gonna call it shadow. But when it finally got to his body, it was because it took 2 years to find his body, or a year, I can't remember. But his bones were completely picked clean, and
Took a minute.
yeah, and his bones were like sun bleached, so he came back as a skeleton. But since he's his human soul in his skeletal body, he's basically invincible for the most part. He's almost invincible. He's not quite like you can break his bones and stuff, but if he drinks milk, it fixes him and a bunch of other stupid stuff.
He can lose his head and everything. Like
Yeah.
he can be decapitated. Like the normal stuff that would affect a human don't affect him.
Yeah. He can starve to death, but he won't die because he can't die from any of the stuff that could kill a normal person. He can't die from. We don't know if he can drown though. The implication is that he can because of Fishman Island, but he can also just leave his body. Like he learns to leave his body, so it's weird. He's Brooks OP. Like just know that. He's also a swordsman. He's called wasn't his nickname when he was alive the Humming Swordsman, and like his fighting style's like based off a hummingbird or something like that.
Fencing.
Like there's like hummingbird sledge and a couple other things, and he uses a purple cane, which is kind of cool. And also he's clearly supposed to be a pimp. Like he's dressed like Prince, and he walks with the cane, and he wears a top hat, and he's got a big ass afro.
And he asks every woman he sees to see them panties. Yeah. It's definitely.
And apparently it's not because he's a pervert, it's because it's a defense mechanism because he doesn't know how to talk to women.
I can see it.
That's like a thing that I found is like in a SBS or something. That's apparently just he's not doing it because he's a pervert. Like he is a pervert, but there's like supposedly it's because he just doesn't know how to talk to women, so he would rather just say the most extreme thing possible. That's why he gets so flustered when the girl says the chick in Sabaody, the bartender.
Shocky.
He was just like, yeah, remember?
Shocky.
Yeah. But she, I can't remember what she says, but she basically just says yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
And, yeah, that's just something funny.
She describes him to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she does everything short of lifting up her shirts and snapping it against her waist. So, when they're in the fog, they run into an island. The island's called Thriller Bark. They get stuck in spider webs. Which, 100%, I would just burn the island to the ground as soon as my ship got surrounded by spider webs. I'd be like, fuck these sails. What about you?
Man,
I ain't taking the risk of running to whatever spider made those webs.
Yep.
Personally, I'm just not.
Would have died. Would have been over.
Usopp, Chopper, and Nami get separated, and this weird dude named Dr. Hogback meets them. And Chopper's just like, oh my god, this dude's such a genius doctor. I can't wait to learn from him. Usopp's like, all these people are crazy. I don't want to die. And Nami's just like, okay, I'm kind of weirded out by all these people. It turns out Hogback makes zombies. All the pictures are zombies. This dude named Absalom tries to rape Nami. That's not an exaggeration. He actually tries to rape Nami while she's taking a bath. Wouldn't you say that's what tried to happen? Like if it wasn't
I
for
wouldn't be using the R word. But
what he drags her out of the bathtub, grabs her arm, throws her up against the wall, and
essayed
says,
her, man.
"Yes."
He essayed her. That's how
Tried
they
to
say
rape.
it now.
That's the same. Like if it wasn't for Usopp, like there's a good chance she would have got raped. Like also, we find out later
No,
that he
we're
is a
not
pirate.
supposed to say that word online. That's how you get canceled. So I'm avoiding it. I know it's
We
not
passed
good.
the timer point where it matters.
Hey,
We're past the point. So
hey,
so just know that the Tiger Man Absalom is a massive piece of shit. Just absolute massive. And he constantly gets sexually assaulted by a pink hippo zombie lady, which makes it
I
even
wouldn't say
funnier.
he gets assaulted by her because he runs away, but
She pins him to the ground and tries to kiss him with enough force to leave dents and rocks.
tries but doesn't succeed.
That's still sexual harassment, sexual assault.
Harassment, but not assault.
That's still sexual. That would fall under sexual assault.
What the fuck it wouldn't?
Just because you
That's
dodged,
not the same charge, my guy.
just because you dodged the sexual assault doesn't mean it didn't attempt to happen.
Yeah, but attempted and actually happened don't even like that's why attempted murder and murder are two separate charges.
Assault is typically not like someone getting beat up. That's battery. Assault is like the threat or intending the threat to harm somebody. No. I swear to God, it's just in Alabama we don't have assault charges.
No.
You don't believe me?
No, not at all. Like, we have different charges. Hey, I'll let you know we've been at this 2 hours now. We don't need another one of those. But like,
I get that. I'm just saying, but like assault doesn't necessarily mean that you were touched.
But we have different charges for those specifications. They don't give you assault charge. You didn't physically harm somebody.
But also, she did physically harm him. He's just, but it's beside the point. The essayer got essayed. The harasser got harassed. Let's just say it that way then. How about that? There's a funny moment when they're in Perona's garden that the hippo that's obsessed with Absalom tries to kill Nami, and so Nami convinces her that she's actually just a cross-dresser.
I forgot the word they use. It was Oshima or Okima or something like that.
Yeah, but it's hilarious because fucking Chopper's just like, or Usopp said, "Wow, I can't believe it," and then Chopper, because like we've been saying, he's like a little kid. He's just like, "Wait, Nami's a guy." That joke cracks me up so much. It's like, wait, Nami's a dude. The rest of the Straw Hats get inside. Thriller bark. They fight some zombies. That's where the thumbnail comes from. A zombie pops up and
Okama, that's what it is.
Okama. He pushes them back into the ground. The zombies get mad. He beats the crap out of the zombies. They find out that they're not on an island. They're on the world's largest pirate ship.
Yep.
And it's made to look like an island. And it's
That's
owned.
A flex.
Yeah, that is a flex. It's owned by Gecko Moria, one of the 7 warlords. So by default, that makes him one of the strongest people in the world. Though, like, it's probably the bottom 100.
No, it's just a title. One of the higher titles in the world. We definitely know that now.
And Gecko Moria is he has the Kage no Mi, Shadow fruit. But he's not like a Shadowmancer or something like that you would think. He actually just has the ability to distill people's shadows. But in One Piece, like how the fruit works, it's the shadow is intrinsically tied to your soul. It's not.
It's like your identity.
Yeah, it works exactly like your soul. Like in other things, there would be like you take your soul and put it in another thing's body. That's how it works. That's exactly how it works, which is interesting. Also, so this isn't a theory or anything. This is just an observation I had. um, Luffy gets his shadow stolen, and he's just like, Moria wants to use that shadow on something super strong. And so we know Luffy is the reincarnation of Joy Boy, right? He's got a frozen body of one of the ores. The Void Century started 900 years ago, right? Oars' body is number 900. And they used the soul of Joy Boy to make him work again. And he's kept in a giant freezer. There's a giant straw hat kept in a giant freezer.
Yep, we ain't got there yet though.
But also, we don't know if in the next 3 episodes we're gonna see Oars brought back to life with Luffy's shadow / soul wants a straw hat. He immediately puts on a giant version of a straw hat, but the implication is that he puts that on because he has Luffy's soul. But what if it's because he wants his straw hat? The body remembers his straw hat. I don't think that's what it is, but it'd be an interesting idea.
It would be, but the whole way it's so intriguing the way this arc portrays all of that. If it would have came out later, we would have drew those parallels, but it came out now to foreshadow a lot of that stuff.
It wouldn't be that.
So we talk about the Oda King of foreshadowing again.
It wouldn't be that, it wouldn't be that weird if it wasn't for the fact that it's number 900. The Void Century started exactly 900 years ago.
It's not weird at all because we're looking at it through a lens that didn't exist at the time. So it's not weird.
No. But I'm talking about it wouldn't be, I guess weird, you're right about weird not being the right word, but it would be the term being weird, or not weird, but it being 900 wouldn't, originally didn't warrant scrutiny, I think is the better way to say it. It didn't warrant scrutiny before, but now we know Joy Boy was born 900 years ago. And now there's a body being reborn with the soul of the reincarnation of Nika, who Joy Boy was also the reincarnation of. I don't think that Oils is Joy Boy. I think it's just a thing. Because that Oars is 500 years old, so it doesn't match up to be Joy Boy. It just makes you wonder, maybe Joy Boy was a giant. And this is just his way of saying Joy Boy was a giant, guys. Finger guns.
King of foreshadowing.
But, you never know. It could also just be one of those things that he did it just so people will think that Joy Boy was a giant. I can totally see that. He pretends that it's it's pretend foreshadowing. It's foreshadowing for the sake of obfuscating the truth. The gum fruit being called the gum fruit is an obfuscation of the truth. I don't know. It could honestly be anything at this point. It's just something I thought was worth mentioning. It lines up really well with other stuff. But nobody knows what's going through Oda's head. I don't even think Oda knows what's going through Oda's head all the time. But yeah. I think that's it. You got anything else to add?
I mean, actually, yeah. Because it was something that you said that was interesting when it came down to about how now they're taking Luffy's shadow and putting it in someone who was because they call him the continent puller. That was just the way they introduced him, which of course being the continent puller, something like that. That's like world shaper, you know. Like
there's also like there was something called like Pangea something in the Void Century.
Yeah. So when you think about that stuff and the synonymous of it, you know, because we talk about the metaphor here, because what is they supposed to do? You know, they're leaving behind a legacy of the overman for people to follow. And for the metaphor itself, overman, you could see Oars in his time as something of not like the true overman, but a figure of that kind of proportion.
Also,
saying the continent puller, world shaper, that's what I got.
Also, if you
that.
think about it, giants are also technically always overmen because they always tower over man.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, like just from a pure technical. And remember, we've talked about Oda loving his meta jokes.
Yep.
That's a meta joke right there.
Yeah.
That's a big ass meta joke.
For sure.
And then also, there's one more thing I wanted to say. When Luffy gets his shadow taken, it's the inverse of his rising light motif.
Oh yeah.
Because it's the sun from the bottom. It's coming like from under him, and it casts his shadow so that it can be taken. Like it's Moria using his ability to take it. So it's like his soul is being taken from him while the sun sets, instead of it rising like his normal motif. So it's like the setting of the sun is when his shadow comes out. So the dark side comes out and his soul pours out when he's at his most vulnerable, which is when the sun sets. Which is a cool inversion of the motif. Because the rising sun motif has been going on since he fought Captain Morgan.
Real shit? No, for real.
So like 342 episodes.
Yep.
Or that's more than that. It's like 348 episodes. He's always like started winning the fight, but he lost this fight before it even started during like a visual representation of sunset.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But he wins the fight when the sun rises. So it's just
and this arc pretty much embodies the dawn sun aspect, especially with the danger clock being the sun coming up.
Yeah, it's also the thing that Luffy is becomes his weakness.
Yeah.
But also at the time we didn't know it was his weakness.
But we're gonna definitely get there because it's a metaphor there when you start seeing like we paying attention to now to how the people are talking, because anyone who talks and tells him that, hey, our shadow's taken so we can't see the sunlight, versus literally once we start get to the climax of this arc, everybody's in the sunlight technically awaiting their doom. But
actually another thing, it's when they take your shadow, when they take your soul, you don't get to see the dawn.
Yep.
So it would be you don't get to see the dawn, but it's also you don't get to see a new day. No. So you can't if they take your soul, you lose your ability to see your future.
Yep.
Which is a nice little another motif that he has sprinkled in. Like, if you lose your reason for existing, you don't care about your future anymore. And that goes perfectly with Perona working for him, because Perona makes you depressed.
Yeah.
Like, that's her devil fruit power.
Yeah.
Is,
I mean, if you're going just off that, I mean, we're going just off that, Perona being able to make you depressed, Absalom, avoiding his natural look, basically his whole thing was every time he's trying to spit game to Nami, he's invisible. So he has no he has no self-esteem
or
awareness. Yeah. So the whole time he's trying to, because
every enemy in this is just like a metaphor for a mental illness.
Yeah, like Hogback.
But the thing is, it's like the person that they fight in this arc is like the mental illness that person would have if they didn't get on the right path. Right.
If they succumb to their own doubts.
Like Moria is a major narcissist.
Yeah.
Like probably borderline personality disorder.
Yep.
If Luffy didn't find Shanks, he could have ended up with borderline. Yep. So it's like if they didn't find the thing that put them on the right path, they could easily what's it called? Zoro's
back.
gonna fight what's his name, the dude that looks like an old
Ryuma.
version of him.
Ryuma.
Yeah. And that dude's entire thing is he's like if Zoro went over the deep end.
Yes.
And then
Hogback and Chopper.
Yeah, like the whole thing is he became so obsessed with bodies instead of being obsessed with making sure that they
were okay.
Yeah.
He became obsessed with his personal fame, money, and greed instead of his personal fame as a doctor.
Which even like goes into it like it's like Sindri knows that deep down, and that's why she keeps fucking with him.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, and then Perona is like, if what's it called?
Usopp.
Not just Usopp, but yeah, Usopp when like. Usopp's the one that is the most likely to get depressed in the crew, so he's with the chick that's all about depression.
But in the way, in Usopp's case, in her case, Perona's devil fruit, it made you depressed as fuck for no reason. Usopp was always depressed, but it was always for a logical reason. Versus like,
so we're saying women are illogical. Makes it.
Hey, Karu's saying that. I ain't saying that. I don't know what he's talking about. Oda be saying, yeah. Oda be saying that. Oda definitely. We not saying that, but Oda be saying that. But nah, real talk. Like
and
with Perona,
Oda's also saying when women are depressed, she'll bring you down to her level of depression. Is that what he's saying? Okay, I'm gonna stop making.
But nah, like in Usopp's case, it was like. Yeah, you always depressed and stuff, but everything you going through is like he not depressed for nothing or blindly. You know, Perona, it killed me when the ghost hit Luffy. And he like, I just want to live and die or be a slug or something like that.
I want to be a clam.
Yeah, I want to be a clam. The second time is
I want to be a sea cucumber.
I want to be a sea cucumber. I want to be a clam. Like,
or Zoro, he's just like, I'm not even worthy of being dog food.
Yeah,
and Sanji starts calling him dog food.
Yeah. But nah, yeah, I definitely see that. And we see it. But basically, man, it's almost like all the crew is looking at people that's way more like messed up than them. Because even Lola and Nami, you know, Nami has a love for money. Lola has a love for people. And we see the people is getting you more messed up than the love for money. That's just what I'm going to go with.
Or that's it's like, or what's it called? Now I think it's more to do with like Nami has a love for it, but she doesn't have an obsession.
Yeah. You know what? That's true. Because she has a love for money. Yeah, Nami has a love for money, but she doesn't obsess over to it. Lets her run her life. Lola was obsessing over Absalom to the point where she couldn't think straight.
Well, it's not just Absalom. She's obsessed with the idea of getting married. It's just Absalom's the object of her obsession.
I see it. I like it.
So they're like all like if like. The Straw Hats got pushed down the wrong path early on instead of all like joining up to it. Like, if Luffy didn't have his granddad or Shanks, what could have happened to him? I
definitely see that.
Stuff like that.
Definitely
like
see
if, that. Or if, like, after Kushina, the leader didn't take Zoro up under his wing and made sure that he knew that it wasn't his fault, he could have turned out like that guy. Or, like, if Sanji didn't have Zeph to teach him what to do, he could be like, what's his name?
Yep.
Also, Sanji and Absalom, they're like the opposites.
Yeah.
Too.
For sure.
Like, Absalom's whole thing is like, or Sanji's whole thing is like, he's a creep about it, but he just believes in love. But, like, his entire thing is like, my soul believes in love. Love is all we need, though it's not really love. His thing is really lust if you like break it down. But Absalom, he seems to want ownership over that which he finds beautiful.
So slavery.
Pretty much, but you like he sees Nami and he doesn't want Nami. He wants to marry Nami. He wants Nami to be his. He finds something beautiful and he wants control of it. It's like the inverse of what Sanji wants.
Yeah.
Like Sanji wants to be controlled by what is beautiful. Absalom wants to control what is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely see that.
So it's just like they just match up really well, like because it's like a good opposites of what they have.
Yep.
And then like Moria, so good. Luffy wants to be the strongest pirate for everyone else's sake. Moria wants to use the strongest pirates for his own sake.
Yep.
Like they're all just like inverses of what the crew wants, which is like really good like match. Like
I ain't never think about it like that. So that
yeah, they're like great. It's like each arc Luffy gets a person that's like Luffy gets somebody that's like against his entire motif, like that challenges like his perspective of the world, but the crew never does.
Yeah,
the crew doesn't get somebody to match that. But here, the first time, every member of the crew gets someone that gets a match to test their resolve and what they think about the universe.
Except the new members, because I don't see one for Frankie or Robin.
Well, also you could argue that theirs is because Brooks has one. Technically, his is the same as Zoro, but it's him like he doesn't have his soul, so it makes sense that it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no, it makes sense with Frankie and what's it called? Then Frankie and Robin then, because it would be their souls aren't on the line.
Yeah.
Because they escape fast enough, so they don't have to fight for their soul against two different parts.
Yeah.
But the other ones do because their soul's on the line.
That makes sense.
Like, because like they didn't steal like Usopp Chopper's soul and everything, but if they get caught and get stuck, they lose their souls.
Yep.
So it's like it's literally like a battle for their souls.
That's good.
Yeah. But I think that's where we're gonna end it there. To the continued battle of the Straw Hat Souls next week when we almost finish Thriller Bark. So, like, next time on Dragon Ball Z. But I've been corrupted.
And it's Dragon.
And we'll see y'all next week. Deuces, guys.
Peace.